Okay, so I'm just gonna take some. I'm just gonna take some time out of my so busy schedule to answer a question that I've been getting for like a couple weeks now, which is like, what is my stance on, I guess, everything that's going on in the world? Yeah. So those of you that know me know I love to talk. I'll talk to you anytime you call me. I'll talk to you. But the whole Facebook thing, I kind of just been like sharing. Haven't really like posted my opinion on what's going on. But I figured like I'm recording YouTube videos today, so I'll share my opinion. A little bit about me. I'm from a small town called LaGrange, Georgia. Born in another little small town called Newnan, Georgia. Grew up in LaGrange, Georgia. Went to private school all the way from like K4 to 8th grade. My private school was predominantly white, with the occasion of me and two of my other friends who were African American, and then, you know, a couple of others, but they were in high school. Anyways, whenever I always share my story, a lot of people laugh because I tell them, you know what, I didn't even know that I was black until I was in the 8th grade. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I had no idea. Like, I just thought that we were all like everybody else, you know? But leading up to the 8th grade, a couple of things started happening that sort of like started separating me and my two black friends from the others. Primary example. One year we had, assigned seats at lunch. Like, really? Anyway, so we had assigned seats at lunch. We were sitting at the table with this white boy, and you know what? He called us the N-word. And I was like, you know, I didn't know what the N-word was. I knew that it didn't sound right. But anyways, my friend at the time, she just started laughing, and I was like, you know what, something doesn't sound right about that word. Like, it just doesn't sound like a good word. So anyways, I went home and told her mom, like, yeah, today this boy called us. And she was like, what? Okay. So anyways, one year in the 8th grade, you know, we used to play around in Spanish class or whatever, and one of the white girls told me, you know what, you just need to go back to Africa and pick corn. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I was so confused. Like, I had no idea what she was talking about. And you know, like, one of the other kids, he tried to stand up for me and say, well, you're not black, you're brown, because that's what I used to always say. I was like, I'm not black, I'm brown, you know? So anyways, I mean, you know, that's the whole like arena that I grew up in, you know, coming up. You know, I thought that, I guess, I don't know, I thought I was a Republican because my dad is a Republican and I'm a Christian, so I must be a Republican, and I must do this and I must do that and I must do this. And I never really understood anything that was really going on, the context behind everything. I mean, I remember I was so crazy that in high school, the year of President Obama's election when he was running, I was like, oh, McCain, yes. And I knew nothing. I really knew nothing, but I was like, oh, he's a Republican, okay. And so when President Obama won, okay, everybody's like, yeah, my president is black. And then I came to school with a McCain shirt on, and let me tell you, that was, yeah. Anyways, so ever since then, you know, I was like, yeah, I'm a Republican, blah, 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 and this and that. And you know what? I always thought, because, like, I don't know if it was ingrained in me, if it was my education, if it was the way that I talk, but I just, in the beginning when I came up, I never really fit in with, like, I guess you would say the black people in the beginning. Because I remember when I had to transition from private school to public school, when I first came to the public school, those kids, like, they didn't like me. They were like, you know, who is this girl trying to come over here? Why are you talking white? And I was like, what? Like, I didn't understand what talking white was. Like, I didn't know what that meant. Like, I had no idea. And they always thought that I was better than them. But I mean, I never really understood the differences between us. They used to bully the living daylights out of me. That's what I know. The same people that are on my Facebook now and whatever. Anyways, I'm not gonna go there. So, you know, that's that whole situation. So that's my background. I went out to a military school. Most of the time, there was one point in time when I was out at that military school and I was the only African-American female in the entire school out of 1,000 kids, okay? And, you know, sometimes the kids, you know, they would be like, oh, we all black, we gotta sit together. Even then, to that point, I still did not understand the things that were going on in the world with discrimination and racism. And I mean, I still didn't understand. I knew things would happen to me all the time, and I would sometimes try to find out like what I did to cause those things to happen, but only when I reached Auburn University. Is that not crazy? Auburn University. Because anybody who knows Auburn University knows that Auburn University is 8% African American, and guess what? Guess the percentage of those African Americans that are there for athletics. You can do your research on that. Anyways, not until I got there and I took this class, I'll never forget it, by my professor, Dr. Ware, and it was called Minorities. And she just opened my eyes to so many things. And you know what is so crazy? She opened my eyes to institutionalized racism and discrimination, and she was a white woman. And do you know what? To me, that was crazy. And ever since then, you know, I've started reading, I've started researching, I started looking, I started opening my eyes and figuring out things for myself, you know. And you know what? I have changed a lot, and I'm glad. I want to say I've changed because I'm educated, but that's not really true. I've changed because I sought to educate myself on the things that applied to me. Even though I didn't feel them at the time, now I do. They don't. They join the other side. They let them think, oh, you're better. You're not like them. You're not ghetto. You're not this. You're not that. You know, you're very proper and well-spoken and well-heard and well this and well that. I'm still black. And then you have the other side of the spectrum where you have the black people that are educated, but then on the other side, you have our ancestrous people or African people who just completely disown us. They completely want to ignore and place themselves even higher than we are because they know exactly where they came from. And they want to sit around and say, and they want to sit around and think, oh, you know what? We came over here by choice. We're here to get an education. We take education seriously. We're not ghetto. We're not this. We're not that. We're better than you guys. And that's how things come off. And you know what? It is so sad. It is so sad. Because guess who's convinced by people that all these things are true? The others. And they're not. African people that know the country that they came from today in this age, that are immigrants that come over here, are no better than black people that are here, that have been here for hundreds and thousands and hundreds of years. Just because you come straight from Africa and my grandparents were slaves, that does not make you better than me. Because guess what? When the others look at us and they look at the categories that we've made for ourselves, such as the educated, the ghetto, the poor, the criminals, the gangsters, the drug dealers, and then the African people, we're all the same. Because guess what? They see this. They don't care about how many degrees you have. They don't care about your last name. They don't care about nothing. So in order for us to help ourselves, we literally have to help ourselves. We literally have to stop the division that we have amongst black people. Like, have you ever tried to separate shades of black? Like, it sounds ridiculous, right? Like, if I give you several little chips and they're like all black, and I'm like, okay, label them, separate the blacks. It's quite ridiculous. To me, that is the most disappointing thing about it all, you know? It's very disappointing. It's very disappointing that I have the educated black people who think they're better. You have the others in the middle, the ghetto group. And then you have our ancestrous people who are like, well, we don't identify with you all at all. They don't want to mix with us. They don't want to marry us. They don't want to do nothing. But guess what? History will repeat itself. I'm telling you, it will. It'll come a time where they're not going to care how many degrees you have. They're not going to care where you're from. They're not going to care about the country that you came here from. They're not going to care about your last name. And that's the time when I hope that we come together and become strong, like how things used to be. Because that's what it used to be. It really used to be, you know, Black people had to come together in order to get somewhere. There's more strength in numbers. So those of you that are out there that are letting people convince you that you're better than the rest of us because you have this and because you have that, let me tell you something. You're in for a rude awakening. And it may not be today. It may not even be next year. But if you don't feel it, your kids will feel it. And if your kids don't feel it, your kids will feel it. It's time for Black people to unite, you know? We can't continue to segregate ourselves. Be proud of who you are. There's nothing wrong with being Black. There's nothing wrong with being proud of being Black. If some of our ancestors saw us today, they would be really disappointed that they lost their lives for us to pretend like we never had anything to do with them in the first place.